So you're thinking about opening a shop, right? And a lot of times, whenever whenever you're thinking about like opening a shop, you don't really think about all the costs that are involved. And so today I'm gonna break down the truth. How much does it really cost to open a shop? The truth, right? So I'm reading off my notes here because I want to make sure that I have a lot of. I actually was like thinking like, what did I really need to open the shop, right? And so as I started to get into this, I was like, man, like this is not just like a couple of things. This is like quite a bit of things that if someone's considering opening a shop, I think they would probably value from this video. So check it out. So we're gonna get right into it, right? So I have there's one, two, three, four, five, six areas. I was gonna go like this: 6 areas that you're gonna have to spend money in to get your shop going. And so the cost that the cost that I'm gonna give you, it ranges like, let's say you're gonna do like a very small shop to maybe like a bigger shop, right? So I kind of went all in between so that way you have a good idea of how much it's gonna cost to get your shop going, right? And after the video, I have a special something for you. So stay through the whole video, so you see what that special thing is. And only the ones that watch the whole video are gonna see what it is, and you're gonna be able to get it so for free. So check it out. So let's get it out. So the business startup cost is gonna range from 5,000 to 20,000. And so look, the business registration, the LLC setup is going to be maybe 500 to maybe 2,000, depending on how you get it set up. For example, like if you go to LegalZoom, you can get it set up for like I think like $220 or something. It's the cheap. You can go with the cheapest package, or you can go with the express package that gets it like next day or some crazy stuff, right? So there's different packages. It also depends. Are you going to hire an attorney to do it? Are you going to do it yourself? How are you going to do that? So that's the initial cost is 500 to about 2,000, right? Business licenses and permits, that's going to be 1,000 to 5,000, and that varies on the different states. Some states require you have certain permits. I'm in the state of Texas, and there's not really a lot of permits that are required for having a paint and body shop. So I mean, if you're in a state where it's like crazy restrictions and crazy permits and crazy, like everything's crazy, you might, I mean, dude, like honestly, like if you're skilled and you know what the hell you're doing, and you know people that have done it already, like why not move to a different state, like and where it's easier to get started up, like and then versus your state. I know a couple buddies are in California, and there's a bunch of like restrictions and stuff over there, man. And I never thought to mention like, hey, why don't you just move to a different state that's easier, right? Maybe Nevada, I don't know. Next one is going to be insurance, right? So if you're going to have equipment insurance, you're going to have liability insurance, any kind of insurance, it's going to probably range you from 3,000 to 10,000, depending, like I said, depending on what you're trying to do. If you have Sometimes if you have, let's say you're gonna you're gonna rent a big place, right? Sometimes there's a thing called a triple lease, where they're gonna make you have a certain amount of insurance on the building and the like, whatever, like garage keepers, right? Sometimes if you get a lot of vending accounts, for example, if you're going after the Amazon vans and stuff, they might, some of those bigger companies, they might require that you have garage keepers insurance in case something happens to their vehicle. It gets covered. So think about that, those costs, right? The next one is going to be accounting and legal fees is going to be 1,000 to maybe 3,000. And so we just got like all our taxes kind of prepared and everything for the businesses, and it was like about almost $1,700, 15 to $1,700, somewhere around there. It might have been more because look, we actually pay every month, so it's actually gonna probably be maybe 3,000, and that's annually, right? So think about that. That's how much it might cost you annually. Initial marketing, website setup, you're looking at about 1,000 to 5,000. Like I said, depending on how you decide to get that set up. One thing that I did, and man, I share this as much as I can with people, is whenever we first started, I was like looking, I wanted to build this big old website. And so I was like, you know what, if I have the best website, we'll probably attract a lot of business, right? So I went and I looked for like the best website company to build our website locally. And I found this lady that did it, she had a company. And she was like, it's gonna be $15,000 to build your website, to get it all going, right? And I was like, man, $15,000, right? So I think we're gonna pay like $1,500 a month, right? Payments. And so they made it sound like pretty like good, like, oh yeah, well, you know what, you're gonna pay it, you're gonna get that money back because you're gonna get business and this and that. Well, the website was up and running, and it wasn't mobile friendly, I guess you can say, and it looked very outdated, and it looked very like, I don't know, man. I wasn't feeling it because I kind of already had an idea of what kind of website I want. I wanted something that was like that you can view on your phone. That's when like really websites started like transitioning into more like friendly for the phone, right? So like you go to a website and you can scroll down the whole website on your phone. You're not having to slide it. You're not having to zoom in. The font's not too small. That's what I was kind of going for. But whenever we got it, it was like a completely different thing, right? And so anyway, we were under a contract and we couldn't break that contract. So I had to end up paying the whole amount. After we paid it out, right, I was trying to work with them still. It wasn't working out. So eventually, what I did was I got. So look, this is a major thing. I got control of our name. So for example, if you're gonna start a body shop, right, and let's just say you're gonna start it at it's gonna be called Texas Collision Services, right? .com. That's gonna be your website, right? Okay. If you hire a company and say, "Hey, I want to make this website," they're gonna hold control over that domain name. Okay, they're gonna hold that control. So by them holding that control, if you're not paying them monthly to service your website, they can say, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna terminate the agreement. We own this name because we actually got it registered for you." And the contract was that you need to stay with us for a certain amount of years. So you're gonna lose that name. Right? So now you have to go and try to find another new name. Okay? Whenever I found this out, I was like, hell no, like I'm gonna get my name back, and then I'm gonna decide what I want to do moving forward. So what I did was I convinced the guy, I said, hey, how do I get control of my domain name? And he's like, well, what I'll do is I'll send you the information to do that, right? And so what I did was when I got the domain, when I got control of the domain name, I transferred it to GoDaddy, right? If you go to GoDaddy.com, you can build a website there. There's like Wix, there's like all these website pages you can build. And so what I did was because I own the name, now I got control of the name. No one was gonna hold the name hostage to make me pay them, okay? So when I got control of the name, I moved it to GoDaddy. And then what I did was I created a clean page. If you go to our website, it's called certifiedcollisionworks.com. You'll see it's a simple website. It has where you can go make appointments. It's very simple, right? It's very clean. And what's good about it is I can change it in real time. So for example, I can go on it right now and I can add pictures and I can make changes and it's gonna happen right now. I'm not gonna have to call and email this company and say, hey, I wanna make some changes. They're gonna say, okay, well, send us a request. Let me put a work order in. Let me do this. Like, no, like I want to do real-time stuff. So website thing, the marketing setup, I mean, I would be very cautious about it and maybe get exactly what you're gonna get in writing and make sure that you have an out. So for example, if someone says, hey, we're gonna do 6 months of marketing for you, it's gonna be $10,000, okay? Okay, what if I don't like the service in 1 month? I want to be able to terminate the agreement with no obligation. Like, oh no, we don't do that. Okay, I don't want to do business. Because look, look. So I'm looking out for you. So you can tell them, hey, this is my first time doing this. I'm not gonna get screwed on the first time. Someone told me to do this, and if they need to talk to me, we'll connect and I'll get them on the phone and I'll tell them, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the only way we're gonna do it. This is why we're gonna do it, and I'll make sure you're taken care of. Okay, I don't want to go too far that way, but look, location. The next one is location. Facility cost, right? We're looking at about 50,000 to 200,000, right? And so this is going to be leasing expect to pay, right? So you're going to pay at least 5,000 to 15,000 a month, and that's going to be for a 5,000 to 10,000 square foot building. So look, this 5,000 square feet is not really I mean, 5,000 square feet is a big enough building. You could probably get away with 3,000. But the thing is whenever you start getting whenever you kind of, you don't want to get too big or you don't want to be too small. Okay, let me tell you why. Okay, if you're too small, you might not be able to put a paint booth in there or a frame machine, and you're going to be real crammed up. Okay. You don't want to go too big because you don't want to have a bunch of just cars sitting around like this there. A lot of times guys get big shops and they have a bunch of junk there. They have a bunch of cars there. They have a bunch of projects there. And so it looks like they're busy, but they're only using a certain amount of shop. So if you're going to find a shop, make sure that, you're going to be able to use all of it. Okay. And I have a video, about how to do a layout on the shop to where you're maximizing every space, inside and outside. I see a lot of shop owners that they have a good sized shop and they have a storage in the back, but the storage has a bunch of junk cars. There's projects inside the shop that aren't doing anything. There may be that, but they might be their own projects, and they're just taking up space. They're taking up space that can be generating income. So that's something you got to be, and you don't want to pay for something you're not using. Okay. Okay. Buying a property, you're looking at maybe $300,000 to $1 million to purchase a building. Okay. And, there's certain ways if a good opportunity comes up for a building, I would suggest getting a building, but that's just me. And the reason why is because, let's just say you have the shop going and maybe in a couple of years, 10 years, your building's paid off and you decide you don't want to do paint and body, you can rent the building out and you're still making money. Utilities, shop setup. So we're talking about light, ventilation. That's not even equipment cost. So think about this. So if you find a building, you find a shop, is it wired up to run a MIG welder? Is it wired to run a single phase compressor? Is it wired to run a paint booth? Is it the lighting? How is the lighting on there? Are you gonna have to redo the whole lighting? We had got a second location, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the location for the shop space, but we also were gonna office another business out of there. And basically what it was is like we found a building that had a shop space to it, but it also had an office space. And I say, well, let's get the office space, and the business that's paying for the office space, we'll just kind of get the shop for free, and we'll just do work out of there, right? But it ended up being too much stuff to manage, like both businesses at one place, because it was just too much back and forth. It was also too much of a liability. But what I felt to do was I felt to look at the lighting. I felt to look at the lighting. I felt to look at the electrical. I felt to look at the plumbing. So right off the bat, I had to put all LED lighting in there. I had to put like about 16 LED lights. Had to hire an electrician. They had to put a new breaker box in there. They had to wire the compressor up. Then, when the compressor was wired up, you don't want to run air hoses from your compressor. So we had to get a hard galvanized piping throughout the shop. That was like about $1,500. So all these costs and then to redo the office, we had to paint the office. So these startup costs can be pretty taxing, right? So those are some of the things to kind of look out for, right? Equipment cost. we're looking at 50,000 to 500,000 in equipment costs. Okay, paint booth can run you from 30,000 to 100,000. I know there is like some inflatable paint booths that might get you going, and they might work out to get. I mean, I'm not sure how much they are, but I've seen a couple people use those inflatable ones. It depends on the type of jobs you're doing. If you're gonna be doing like minor repairs, maybe some smaller insurance claims, I would say, hey, let's get an inflatable one, and let's kind of make money off of that, and then we'll get a galvanized one or a powder coated one. You could buy, I think on Auto Tool Mart, they have some pretty cheap paint boots, but you still remember, look, whenever you're buying, maybe the paint boot's only $5,000, right? Okay, you're saying, okay, the paint boot is $5,000. It's not, I can buy one for $5,000. Okay, our paint booth was like about $30,000. Okay, that's just for the booth. Okay, that didn't include installation. It didn't include the electrical, wiring all the electrical up. It didn't include making the vent hood to the roof. It didn't include running air lines through that. It didn't include the water traps. It didn't include none of that. So those are some of the things you gotta look out for. A lot of times, if you get a paint booth, you're also gonna need probably like a single phase. You're gonna need a power source for that. And so if you look at, I mean, I didn't know this, but like, dude, whenever we got the paint booth, the power source on that thing is huge, like a big box, and it has all these. It's crazy. It's huge. Because remember, it has to control all the lights, and it has to control the fan. Like, it's a lot of stuff. So a paint booth, like I said, 30 to 100,000 depending on the type. A frame machine, you're looking at 10 grand to 50 grand. Welders, L compressors, spray guns, you're looking at 10 grand to 50 grand. We just bought a compressor about, dude, almost 3 years ago. And we paid, I want to say we paid $4,500 for it. Okay. And I was like, man, I'm gonna buy a good one, $4,500. It's a good brand, right? Okay, it was industry, something industry, right? It's a blue one. Okay, we bought it. Okay, within 1 year, the freaking motor went out. Okay, so I went to go buy a motor. I think the motor was like $1,000 or maybe $1,500. I don't remember. It was a lot. So our warranty expired. So I put this motor in there, right? But we put the motor in there. Okay. It's going. Then we're still having problems with the capacitor. Okay. And so whenever we put the motor in, whenever we started to figure out like, why did the motor burn? That's a brand new compressor. I called the manufacturer and they said, hey, how did y'all have it wired up? And I was like, well, we just wired it to the electrical. And he's like, well, what kind of gauge did they use for the wire? And I was like, well, I'm not too sure. And so I had called the electrician out there again. I said, hey, what kind of wire was this? Anyway, what happened was the manufacturer said that we didn't use the right type of gauge wire for the compressor, and then it put a load on the compressor and it burned the motor out, right? Anyway, so we ate that cost. So be very cautious on buying the compressor. See what kind of warranty it has, and make sure it's not a crazy company that the parts are gonna be hard to get. You know, MIG welders, spray guns. If you have all your equipment already, you might have to buy some spray guns. It depends. Jacks, lifts, other shop tools. You're looking at 10 grand to 30 grand. You're probably gonna need a hydraulic lift, maybe some jacks, some other tools. Let's talk about also estimating systems. We have CCC, Mitchell, Autotex. Those are like 200 to 500, and that's on the low end. That's just for the basic. That's just for the basic estimating system. Okay, office supply, computers, phones, furniture. Looking at 5 to 10 grand, and so speaking about like computers and stuff, what we did was we would buy a Hewlett Packard computer from Walmart, and we would always buy like a good computer, right? We'll go to Walmart. Okay, what's one of the best computers? Okay, let's buy it. Okay, we will buy it, and then what will happen? It will last us maybe, so it'll last us maybe 2 or 3 years, and then sure enough, we would have to buy a new computer. And so I was like, why? Like, what the heck's up with this, right? Well, there's home computers and then there's office computers. Okay, there's also office monitors and there's also home monitors. So if you have a home monitor at your business, it's gonna mess up your eyes because it's not made to be looked at all day. I didn't know this, right? And so whenever I was like, man, we have to keep buying computers. And so every time we bought a computer, we would end up losing information. We would end up having to transfer. Remember, if you have a cheap computer and you're barely making it work, and you're starting to store estimates on there, photos, maybe you're doing some kind of accounting on there, whatever kind of records, and that computer crashes or that computer goes out, you're screwed because you're gonna lose all that information. Okay, maybe all your passwords, like if it's like if it auto passwords, right? Like you're gonna have to lose all that. You're gonna lose all that information. So what I did was we actually had 2 computers built, like some really good computers built for the business. We have one in the front, one in the back. These are like massive, like gamer computers that we built to make sure that it's enough storage. It's not gonna be something crazy if it gets messed up. The computer guy that we got it from, he's like a tech support. So like if something happens, he comes out and it's really good because you can also network your computers. You can network your printer. So start thinking about the bigger picture, right? So if you're just starting out, say, you know what? I can either buy a cheap computer now and then have to buy one every year, or I can buy a good one and use that to have good storage, good data, good information, and carry that over. One thing that you can also do is, I'm not going to go much into it on this part, but you can actually get business credit. And what I did was I actually got business credit through Dell, and Dell gave us like 10 grand of business credit. So I was able to buy the monitors there, some keyboards, and I was also able to buy like another business computer for like clerical work, just for like looking up stuff, for quick estimates, for cloud stuff. It doesn't do a lot of storage and stuff, but it's also a really good computer, and Dell's a very good company, and also that stuff will be a tax write-off for your company. Okay, so let's get into inventory and initial supplies. You're looking at $5,000 to $20,000. That's going to be paint. Maybe you're going to get a mixing bank, or maybe you're going to any kind of supplies. Like you're going to need to get some startup supplies, maybe sandpaper, whatever. So that's in general, right? So let's go into sanding, buffing, detailing supplies. You're looking at $1,000 to maybe $5,000 in that. Shop uniform, safety equipment. You're looking at $1,000 to $5,000 for that. Depending on what, I mean, even if you're using your regular clothes, you're gonna have to buy clothes, right? So consider that, all right? Miscellaneous tools. $2,000 to $5,000. You're probably gonna come across some miscellaneous stuff. Like we had to buy like some lights. We had to buy some separate water traps. We had to buy what else? Kind of miscellaneous stuff. We had to buy like an outdoor monitor system so we can see the work orders outside. We had to buy like some mobile desk. Just miscellaneous stuff that's gonna come up. Fans, heaters, space heaters when it gets cold. You have your regular toilet paper, your office, drinks. Well, I mean, whatever. There's miscellaneous stuff, right? So let's go into hiring and payroll. So you're looking at $50,000 to $200,000. This is for the year. Okay, so. Autobody technician, you're gonna pay them at least $50,000 to $80,000 a year per tech. Okay, painter, you're gonna pay them $50,000 to $100,000. This is per year. Office manager, $40,000 to $60,000. Estimator is gonna be $50,000 to $70,000 per year. Administrative costs, that's going to be payroll, workman's comp. You're going to end up paying $5,000 to $20,000 per year on that, right? And that's if you have your payroll set up and all that stuff. Marketing and customer acquisition, that's going to be $5,000 to $20,000. Like I said, that's going to be website SEO, so that's $2,000 to $10,000. So that wasn't even the initial marketing. So this is this is like actually getting your website up. Remember I told you it was 2,000 to this is 2,000 to 10,000. We spent 15,000, and then after we spent that, then I had to go redo it and get it all done again. Google, Facebook ads, 2,000 to 10,000. I would steer more towards the Google ads versus the Facebook ads, because on the Google ads, once you get your Google business listing on, you can do a local small like campaign, right? And so what it does, it actually just boosts your location when people search. So you're not having to go on Google Ad Manager and create a whole sequence and nothing like that. You can just go on your Google Maps and you can say, hey, I want to advertise, and you can pay to boost your local area, and it just kind of highlights your business. It gives it kind of makes your business stand out. Okay, business signs and branding. Okay, so you're gonna have to get a logo design. If you don't have a logo design, you're gonna have to get signs. We bought 2 signs. They were 8 by 12. We ended up spending almost $3,000 in signs, and that was on an aluminum sheet. We had 2 4 by 8s, 4 by 10s. We had a banner made. It gets expensive. It gets expensive. So you're gonna want to have a sign up. You're gonna want to have a sign, and you're gonna want to have a logo up. What I would suggest is, what we did at first was went with it's like a cork board. It's like a cork board signing, and they were real popular for a while. And what it was like a cork board, and they would kind of like a realtor sign. It's like a plastic cork board. If you go to Home Depot and you buy a garage sale sign or for sale sign, they have the one that you stick with the little things in the middle, right? Well, that's like cork board sign. Well, you can buy a sign that's printed on that, and it's about ½ inch thick, right? Okay, that's what I did. I spent almost $800, almost $1,000 on these signs. And what happened was they lasted maybe about a year, because they didn't have no UV protective on it. They were made for like inside. They're not made for outside, and so the weather tore them up. And so that was a waste of money. So the next round, what I did was we got some aluminum. The sign company, it was a vinyl company. They bought some aluminum material. It was like a sheet of aluminum, like a 4 by 10, and then they wrapped that with vinyl. But the vinyl is going to be like a high quality vinyl that's UV protective, so it lasts in the sun. So it's going to last you a couple of years. The signs that we've had, they've lasted maybe 8 years already. We've had them for a long time, and we just bought some other ones for inside. But the signs that we've had, they've lasted for a long time. So make sure that you're not going to buy a cheap not even a banner sign. Don't put a banner sign outside, because if it's not screwed on right, if it's not really tight, what's going to happen is if one tab breaks and then you have a windy day, it starts to flap that banner, and it starts to crack it, and it's just a waste. So go ahead and try to find like an aluminum material. It's a real thin, like a 1/4 inch material, and they wrap it and they screw it to the building. They screw it to wherever you're at. It's gonna last you a lot longer. Okay. A referral program and promotions. Like if you're gonna do any promotions, for example, a lot of shops say, hey, we'll save you deductible. Okay, you're not actually saving the deductible. It's costing you money. So that's coming out of your pocket. So that might be a promotion, or maybe you do sponsorships. Maybe you sponsor the little kids game or something, or you sponsor the school, or you. So I personally, I would probably, if I know a lot of companies like want to sponsor like softball and like kickball and like all this stuff. Hey, if you've stayed this long, I got a special gift for you. I got a special It's a startup checklist, okay? I'll have the link at stanmedina.com. I'll put the link below. Go in there, you can just download it, and you can kind of get an idea of what all you're gonna need. Maybe it'll start to get your mind thinking and say, okay, you know what? I didn't know I was gonna need this. What about this? And it also might spark new questions, okay? And that's the point. I want you to start to look at it, the bigger picture. A lot of times as technicians, we're like this, tunnel vision, like let's just get it done. But as you look bigger, everything will start to come into place, and it'll be a lot easier moving forward. A lot of times you don't really see the return on investment on that. So like you might pay $500 to have your name on a shirt, right? But how do you know if that's converting into a sale? Okay, the only way that's gonna work is like if you're actually like maybe like introducing yourself to all the parents. So for example, like say, hey, you know what? I'll sponsor your team, but I want to make sure that I'm there for the trophy ceremony. I want to make sure that I'm there for y'all's, let me know when y'all's games are. And be out there like giving the people maybe snacks, right? So that's a good idea. Like let's say you're going to sponsor a softball team, or you're going to offer a kids t-ball team or whatever, right? Say, hey, let me know when your games are. And then whenever the games are, you show up with gift bags for the parents, you know, with snacks and stuff, whatever. And that's just you branding. Hey, we sponsored the team. Oh, thanks, man, for sponsoring. Hey, thanks for the keychain. Thanks for the koozie. Thanks for the bottle opener. Thanks for the whatever. So you're actually connecting with them, and that's gonna probably help you build some business, right? So don't just give your money to a softball team or to a t-ball team or to a football team or basketball and hope for the best. You have to have like some kind of call to action, right? Or some kind of way to connect with those parents, okay? So like I said, total estimating cost, this is gonna be okay. On the lower end startup shop, like a smaller shop, you're looking at $100,000 to $200,000, right? Mid-sized shop, average shop, you're looking at $250,000 to $500,000. A higher end shop, fully equipped large shop, you're looking at $750,000 to $1 million, okay? Conclusions, right? Starting an auto shop isn't cheap, but if it's done the right, it can be highly profitable. The key is to plan your budget wisely, avoid unnecessary expenses, and maximize your investment, okay? There he goes. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit the like and subscribe for more business building insight from, the collisionpreneur, man.